Top of the morning, fight fans. This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Keith, one-time Thurman, and Terrence Crawford. Thurman to Crawford, he says, send the contract, let me post it on IG, and sign it live. Wow. A healthy Keith Thurman is undoubtedly one of the best welterweights in the world. A motivated Keith Thurman is a different type of animal altogether. The former unified welterweight titleist continues the process of returning to the version of the old as he aims for a ring return sometimes in the fourth quarter of 2020. While there are ideas in mind for the manner in which he plans to return to the title picture, there is an option in particular that has piqued interest: a showdown with undefeated pound-for-pound entrant Terrence Bud Crawford. Such a bout has been teased by Florida native in the past interviews, particularly in the early stages of an ongoing coronavirus pandemic at the time when the sport and the world was on a standstill. Such claims of interest didn't resonate with the intended target. Keith says this: "You don't know what you want to do," Crawford said at the time. Because if the contract was sent to Keith Thurman, he would find a way out. So stop playing with my name. You're a guy who just cries wolf. Wow. Send the contract. Send the contract, Thurman exclaimed during the most recent installment of the Last Stand podcast with Brian Custer. Send the contract, let me post it on IG, and I'll sign it live, baby. Sign it live. Let me get my first contract live, my first signing live, baby. They don't know me. Crawford called me out saying that about me. They don't know me, man. They don't know what kind of contracts I've had in my face. I've never been presented with a contract for a real fight. That's real petty at the end of the day, and I'll tell you why. We do this for a living. We do this for a living. We do this to put food on the table. There's people who fight in the streets for nothing, overstepping on someone's Jordans, homie, over nothing. We fight for the world. We fight for our fans. We fight for our family. We fight for our pride. I love to fight, and I'm going to fight till the day I die. And the one who said I got an O and I'm not afraid to be beaten or let it go. Manny Pacquiao beat me. Can you beat me? Can you go toe-to-toe? I don't know. Send the contract. Those are the words of Keith Thurman. Now, one says you cry wolf, Terrence Crawford. He also says that, hey, if I sent you a contract, you'll find a way out. Well, Keith Thurman is calling his bluff. He said, well, hey, send me a contract and I'll sign it live. I'll post it live. And I think in this situation, Terrence Crawford, I feel now I think he's in a good position because now, Sean Porter negotiations were ongoing, right? That was a big thing. Now Keith Thurman is telling Terrence Crawford, hey, send me a contract and I'll sign it live so everybody can see it. Then, of course, always the Earl Spence thing. And then he's pretty much the one that is not really interested in a Terrence Crawford fight right now because he has his mandatory with Danny Garcia, right? Well, I think if I'm Terrence Crawford, I think the doors of the PBC on that side of the street are open. I think someone has let a bridge out to cross over that pond, or across the street or whatever. And I think he should do that. I think he should follow up. If he thinks that, send the contract to see what Keith Thurman really does. Me, of all people on this channel, I've criticized Keith Thurman. I've praised Keith Thurman. There was two versions of Keith Thurman. That's true. Keith Thurman that, you better not dunk me, son. That Keith Thurman, right? Where he wanted to fight everyone. Mayweather, Khan, Polinaji back in the day. He wanted them all and couldn't get them all. Okay, he couldn't get any of those guys. He didn't fight any of those guys, but he wanted all those guys. And then you had the guy that became unified. He had the WBC and I believe the WBA. Okay, and he went from those to then all of a sudden I think he got complacent. Then the injuries start to occur. Then a lot of excuses start to gather, and then he had a lot of surgeries, and he came out of a surgery. Then he lost to Pacquiao. Now he's back. Now he's claiming to really did a full circle. Okay. So if we if we know anything about Keith Thurman, we know he can talk. I was reading that. I'm thinking to myself while I was reading that sounds so much like Keith Thurman. We fight for our family. We fight for our fans. We fight for our pride. That's Keith Thurman. And there's only one way to know he's full of shit or not. He could be real deal. Like I said, he could full circle. He could be in a situation where he's like, look, I've let that go. I've popped my cherry. Now I ain't afraid of nobody. Maybe, just maybe, when he unified the welterweight division or became a unified champion, so to speak, because he didn't unify the whole thing. He wasn't undisputed, but he had 2 belts. He got it from Danny, and he had a hell of a fight with Sean Porter, so he's been there. I think maybe he got the Mayweather illness, a little bit, and didn't really want to let that go. But, he did it for the right price because he fought a legend, Manny Pacquiao. And then that's just Manny, though. He fought Manny. He didn't get Floyd, but he got Manny. A lot of people, like Amir Khan, can't say that. Khan got knocked out by Canelo. I guess that's his claim to fame if you're talking about superstar status. But I think now maybe he is a changed person. Who knows? But the only way that we're going to find out is Terrence Crawford's people sends over a contract. Okay, and then if that fight gets made, people, you know what that means? It's one hell of a fight, win or lose on each side. Or especially if Terrence Crawford wins. That means there's no reason that Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford shouldn't get in there because they're with the same people. And I'm not talking about Man Down Promotions, right? I'm talking about Al Heyman, PBC Fox. Terrence Crawford's an ESPN fighter. If they did a crossover fight between the two, the former unified champion taking on the undefeated pound-for-pound WBO welterweight champion, what gives? That would sell. Okay, you got a guy with just one loss and had a hell of a fight with Manny Pacquiao. Fighting the guy that's in negotiations of fighting Manny Pacquiao, Terrence Crawford. So it looks very good, I blast Keith Thurman because I thought he was ducking Errol Spence. But at the same token, this guy's saying, send me a contract and I'll sign it live. So if I'm Terrence Crawford, I'll do this. I would have the contract like, hey, this is the contract. I'm letting you guys know. It's in the box. We're sending it over as we speak to Keith Thurman. So it's up to Keith Thurman to do what he says he's going to do. So we're waiting for the ball's in Keith Thurman's court and his people's court when he gets the contract. Put all that shit live. It would do all types of streaming numbers because this is full life in real time evidence of a fight actually getting made. And I think a lot of fighters should do this and should go that route. Instead of the he said, she said, oh, well, they said this and they said that. And his word against his word, you know what I mean? No, that wouldn't have that if they had that live. Live is very powerful. Media is very, very powerful. So if I'm Terrence Crawford again, I would send the contract. I would do it live so he can sign it live. That's my counterpunch on that. You guys tell me what you think about Keith Thurman's demands of Terrence Bud Crawford. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.